$600. So, Congress just passed a stimulus package. And it's not just a stimulus package. A lot of people are confused by that, but it is a stimulus package attached to another bill, another spending bill, that has a whole bunch of other stuff in it. So some people are confusing the whole thing as a stimulus bill. And they're saying, like, why is all this other stuff in this stimulus bill that has nothing to do with stimulus? Well, it's because that's the way Congress does these things. They like to attach bills to a bunch of other bills that have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. And so people will pass it to get the part that they want passed. But they end up agreeing to a bunch of stuff that they don't necessarily want along the way. This time it's especially egregious because, okay, all in all, this was a $2.3 trillion bill, which is an insane amount of money. An insane amount of money. The portion of this thing that they passed that was for stimulus, for the COVID recovery, basically, to keep people afloat, was $900 billion. Okay? So, less than half of it was actually a COVID relief bill. But this is being labeled as a COVID relief bill that they passed. No, they passed a COVID relief bill that was attached to another giant spending bill, which included all kinds of things that had nothing to do with. They're sending 500, I think it's 500 million to Israel, 10 million to Afghanistan. Just so much stuff in this bill that has nothing to do. Here's the biggest problem, though. It's $600, for one, is less than they gave people in the first economic stimulus bill. But it's just not. It's not going to do anything. That amount of money is not going to do anything. The reason that this was so crucial to pass now, right, was for one, because they kicked the can down the road, as they always do, and waited till the last minute. While the unemployment benefits that people have been getting, the people who were out of work and were collecting unemployment benefits, that's now reduced to half. So people were getting like $600 a week in unemployment benefits, federal unemployment benefits. And now it's going to be reduced to $300. So we're like, well, we've got to get them some extra money now. The clock's run out. We have to pass it now. So they did that. But what's that going to do? What is $600 per person going to do for the person who is actually out of work and was actually on unemployment and was getting $600 a week, and now they're getting half that? Now they're going to get a one-time payment of $600. It's not going to help. It's not going to help the people that actually need it. I'm lucky. I'm lucky in the sense that while this money will help, because times are usually tough in the winter time for a lot of Americans, being able to provide Christmas for their kids and just a lot more stuff. There's traveling. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on. But luckily, I haven't been out of work. Now, my wife, she's had to reduce her hours at work significantly to do schooling with the kids. And I try to help as much as I can with that, but she, for the most part, handles, making sure the kids do their schoolwork and helping them if they need help. So yeah, she's as a family, we've taken our pay has went down a little bit. And so while that money helps us, I don't think it's going to help the person who's actually out of work. Not really at all. Not in any significant way. The worst thing about this bill, though, was that they do this all the time. Like, I don't want people to think, if they hear about this, I don't want people to think that this is like something new. because they do this all the time. They've done this a bunch of times throughout my lifetime. I've watched them do it. They will put out a bill, and it will be a ludicrously large bill, thousands and thousands of pages to read. And they will, hold on, they will give the people who are going to vote on this bill literally hours to figure out what's in it. And say, you have to decide within a couple hours. So here's what happened. I saw this IGTV video from Tulsi Gabbard, who I love. I love Tulsi Gabbard. And I wish she would have been the Democratic nominee, because I would have voted Democrat for the first time in my life, because I think she's that good of a candidate. I digress. In her IGTV video, she said that they presented this bill to the members of Congress at like 2:30 in the afternoon and told them that they were going to vote on it in just a few hours. It's a 5,500 page bill. So you tell me how you could even get through a tenth of that in a couple hours to figure out what you're voting for. So naturally, Tulsi voted no, but the majority of people in Congress voted yes on something they had no idea what it said. No idea what was in it. They just knew that 900 million of it was going to COVID relief. And so they figure, like, well, if we want to get that passed, and this is how they do it. This is how we spend so much money on things we don't need to spend money on in this country. It's done in the same way every time. They put something really important in there, at least to one side or the other, and they say, if you want this, you got to sign off on all of this other stuff that has nothing to do with it. And they pressure them into doing it, because it's like, oh, well, do you want to be seen as someone that's not helping the American people? Do you want to seem like you don't care? If you don't want to be seen that way, you better pass this thing. And some members in Congress actually have the balls every once in a while to say, no, I'm not going to pass that, because I don't know what I'm signing. Can you imagine getting a contract, like to work for a company or go into business with someone, and they gave you a contract that was 5,000 pages and said, okay, you have to sign off on this in 2 hours or the deal expires. You know, we won't be working together. Well, I guess we're not working together, because I don't know what I'm signing up for. That's insane. That's insane to think that anyone would do that. That anyone would sign off on something and not know what they're signing off on. That's crazy. That's crazy. So I applaud the few people in Congress. I think it's like 60 people maybe, out of 435, said no, which is ridiculous. And not like I said, not because I don't want a COVID bill to be passed. I do. I just want it to be passed separately. I want it to be a standalone bill for direct COVID relief. I don't know why they didn't pass that a long time ago, months ago. I don't know why they didn't sign a bill. They could have made this one just the $900 billion stimulus package, right? They could have just passed that and not attached it to anything else and had a separate vote on the rest of the stuff. But this is how they get the stuff that no one actually wants in there. It's how they get special interest group shit in there. This is how they get, insane amounts of money for stuff that already has insane amounts of money, like military spending, or foreign aid, things like that, that already is juiced to the gills with funding, right? And most people in their right mind would be like, I don't think we need to add to that right now, especially when there's this other really important stuff that needs taken care of. But that's how they get it passed, is they attach it to something that pulls on the heartstrings. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit. And like I said, I applaud the people who actually had the wherewithal to say no, in the face of that. But yeah, it's ridiculous to me anyway. This whole idea that it's us who run the country in terms of the cash flow, right? It's our taxes. So just imagine that someone reached into your wallet and took $100 bill out of there. And then took $80 of that money and spread it around to places that you don't really know where, but they decided where it should go. And some of it's to things you would not really want it to go to at all, that you don't think is very important. And then they gave you back $20 of it and said, here. And then you're supposed to be like, thank you. Thank you so much for this pittance, for this tiny little bit of my own money back when I really need it. I'm not a person either who's like I'm good with social programs. I think we should have a safety net, but I'm a capitalist. I think we should have capitalism with a conscience, capitalism with a safety net, which is basically what we have, and maybe we should expand upon that a little bit to make sure people don't fall through the cracks. This is okay with me. I'm okay with some welfare programs. I'm okay with helping people out when they're really having a hard time. I'm okay with putting money towards bettering communities and bettering people's lives and helping out people that are having a hard time. But like I said, I'm not overly socialist. I'm pretty capitalist-minded. And but there's a difference between capitalism and crony capitalism, which is what we really got going on right now. A lot of special interest and a lot of money in politics. A lot of big corporations having a say in the way that the country moves in terms of members of Congress doing them favors in a sense by passing bills that benefit them. That's our biggest problem right now. That is our biggest problem right now with our government, is the money. The money in politics. The fact that Congress, a large portion of it, most of it, is in bed with, large companies. And they're there to basically do their bidding. So, yeah, this bill was a slap in the face. Not only because, they attached to something really huge, which makes it sound really like, oh, we're $2.3 trillion, and they're calling it the COVID relief bill. It's really not. It's just people are wording it wrong. It's actually just a giant spending bill, and a COVID relief bill is attached to it. But not only is that a slap in the face, attaching all this other shit to it, spending more of our tax dollars on a bunch of shit that no one wants to spend it on. But also just the fact that, a third of it is for actually helping people who need it. I don't get that. Like I said, the biggest problem I have with it really is that it's our money. It's our money. And then we're supposed to be grateful that they're giving a tiny, tiny bit of it back to us. Which, like I said, I'm okay. This money will help my family, but not nearly as much as some people need it to survive. It's going to help us because my wife is working less and we have less of an income. To some people, it means eating. It's just not... It's different, too. This is not... It's different because the government decided people couldn't work. That's the biggest difference here with any other time when they've wanted to give money to people. You know, I'm okay with social welfare programs. What I'm not okay with, especially, is wasting that money, putting it into things that don't actually help anything, right? But in this case, I don't even think of this as like your normal like welfare program. I think of this as you told people they couldn't work, and then all the money you've been collecting from them, you're not going to give them enough of that back to help them out when you told them they couldn't work. Like, that's the biggest slap in the face of it. That's the biggest problem with this, is that it was their decision to say places got to shut down. And small businesses are getting hurt more than anyone here. The big corporations, the ones that are probably getting a lot of money from this very large spending bill, they're doing fine. They're doing great, actually. They're thriving. Huge companies are thriving right now. It's the little guys that are having a hard time. So, I don't know. It makes me sick, man. It makes me sick. And I feel like they're going to make our money worth nothing. We're going to be burning money to keep warm. I don't know if that's true. I don't know how extreme it's going to get, but you get what I'm saying, right? If they print, they say that 30% of the money in circulation right now is new money printed this year. Well, you should know that the more money that you print, the less the money is worth. So what happens if you just keep shelling out cash that wasn't there before? Eventually, your money's not worth anything. Your money's worth nothing. This happened in Germany after World War I. They got to a point where their money was worth nothing. They were literally, there were people bringing wheelbarrows full of money to a grocery to buy a loaf of bread. Wheelbarrows of cash. It was worth more to burn to keep warm than it was to actually spend on anything. And I don't want to see that happen. That's a scary, scary proposition. All right. That's it. That's my thoughts on it. I didn't want to do any more political videos, anytime soon, because I've had my fill of them lately. But how could I not talk about this one? This is it's something big and it's happening. It's basically a pop culture subject right now. So how could I not weigh in on it? I just felt the need to talk about it. So if you enjoy this sort of thing, what I do on this channel is I pick a random topic every day. I'm not perfect, but most days I'm putting out content. If you can vibe with that, if you'd like a new topic in your feed every day, please subscribe for more, or favorite or follow the podcast. And if you decide to stick around, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel or favorite or follow the podcast, then I will talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks.